Welcome to another episode of Dear Christiano. Now, I've realized something about myself. I'm really fucking good at stopping. I can stop drinking, stop smoking, cut out sugar, caffeine, carbs, whatever it is. I can detox for a week, a month, even 3 months. I can apparently stop eating altogether for 3 full days. Give me a challenge, give me some rules, give me a line in the sand and say, don't cross it. And there's a part of me that fucking loves it. But I'm starting to wonder if stopping was ever really the hard part. Maybe the harder part is what actually happens when everything comes back. When there are no rules, when you can have the drink, eat the thing, smoke the joint, skip the gym, say, fuck it, I'll do it tomorrow. When one becomes two and two becomes, how the fuck did I end up back here again? And I think that's what I actually want to talk about today. Not fasting, not detoxing, but actually why sometimes I truly need to strip everything away before I can truly hear myself again. And how the hell I learn to actually hold on to that person once real life comes back fully. So to explain why this is even on my mind, I kind of need to tell you what I've just put myself through this past week. Now, I had a super intense detox week, which included an 84-hour only water fast. But before I get into all of the details, let me actually explain what was happening beforehand and why I actually was in need of a reset. So what was happening beforehand? So over the past 2-3 months, I've had many guests in my house. My family came, my parents came. They were here for a week and a half, 2 weeks, visiting me over my birthday, celebrating with me. Then my partner's mum and his auntie came and they came for 2 weeks. Then we had guests coming from Lombok who came and stayed with us. And then just recently, my sister came to visit for a week as well. And so for me, of course, I love having visitors. But of course, when people come to your house and in your space, kind of your life gets a little bit disrupted. Your normal routines aren't the same. You're out for dinner. You might have a couple of drinks here, a couple of drinks there. And then ultimately you feel a little bit off put, right? So that was kind of what was happening there mentally as well. Now, of course, when those kinds of things happen and um you're eating different kinds of foods or maybe drinking more, that kind of affects your body. So whatever, it is, food, alcohol, weed, caffeine, habits, energy, routine, they're all off. For me, I'm a person who really loves my routine. I can plan to eat a lot of the same things most days if I have a routine. So for example, I'll get up, I'll have my fruits in the morning. I'll have a green smoothie. I'll have some almonds. I'll go to the gym, I'll come back, I'll have a coffee, I'll have my protein shake or some eggs, right? Then for lunch and dinner, I'll have, a level of protein and more green smoothies. And so I have a really good routine of what I like to have. And I can stick to that quite consistently because it gives me the results I'm after. I don't mind it, I enjoy it. And of course, I add some variety in there as well. But sometimes, like I said, when things get disrupted, the variety is the key thing there. So instead of having just one coffee, I might have two. Instead of having, my regular breakfast, we'll go out for breakfast and I'll feast on this. Same things for the other meals, right? And so for me, then I feel like I'm putting stuff into the body. I'm going out for a drink. I'm having one or two. And I'm not someone who likes to drink a lot. So then when it happens like that, my body kind of just feels a little bit out of whack. I feel a bit out of whack mentally, emotionally. My social batteries are out of whack. And so sometimes for me, I'm just in need of something that's what I would call a reset because I feel like I'm kind of maybe a little bit drifted away from myself. Also, when people are here, my creative ventures such as this podcast or my coaching or some of the other musical things that I like to do, they get put to the side. Of course, my priority of my business is, when it comes down to if I've got clients or if, we have stuff going on with the Airbnbs or the kitchen, etc. like that, they're priority. But then when guests come, all the other bits and pieces go out the window because you're spending your time helping other people or having quality time with them. And so when they all leave, ultimately my body goes into, okay, it's time for a reset. So for me, why I decided to have a reset was because I was like, okay, I knew for what I'd been putting into my body and how I'd been kind of having my sleeping was off and all of the things. I was like, I am ready to have a proper reset. So what did I actually do? So I I generally like to do like a detox week every 4 to 6 weeks. And in that detox week, I go 7 days and I would cut out all sugar. That's all sugars, processed sugars, and also sugars that come from like fruits and things like that. So I cut out all sugar. I cut out obviously alcohol. I cut out carbohydrates and dairy and caffeine, and all of the things. And I strip everything back and I eat super, super, super clean for 7 days. And my body detoxes a lot of those things. It goes into what we call ketosis, and it starts fueling itself off of the fat storages instead of just all the sugary things that come into your body. Now, what I actually did last week for the first time was to do 3 days of that detox to actually get myself cleansed. And then I did a full 3.5 day of just a water fast, where for 84 hours, all I did was have just literally water and all I put is some electrolytes because I needed the electrolyte powder stuff just so I had enough sodium and potassium and other, magnesium and things in my system, which is what I need. And those things kind of go out as you fast or don't eat or whatnot, right? So I had to do that. Then I had a reintroduction day where I went back to what I would do in the first 3 days. And then the following day, slowly started reintroducing different foods into my body. Now, let me tell you, some of the physical effects are really, really difficult. And a lot of people couldn't handle it. I had severe headache, what I would call a migraine, for like 24 to 48 hours. Of course, that's in the first couple of days, which is why instead of actually not starting the fast at the beginning, I did the first 2 days because you take away most of the things that actually cause like withdrawals and things like that with the sugar and the alcohol or the caffeine or whatnot, right? So you take that out, and then of course it goes into just the water. And then, of course, you have those hunger pains. You get really tired. You get moody. Your body starts to change. You have a mental and emotional kind of like, you're bargaining with yourself. Maybe if I just did 2 days, maybe if maybe you've done enough, you're doing good. You have that throughout the whole time. Is you're talking to yourself, like really trying to like have this back and forth with yourself about should you eat yet, or can you do it for another day, or is this enough? Was this a smart move? All of the things. The hardest moments really for me was the migraine. I can handle most things. I can handle being sick. I can handle all of that. But when it comes to the headaches and the headache that you just can't get rid of, because as well, like when you're cutting everything out, you have to make sure that whatever you're trying to take to manage it is within the requirements. Because if you take something that has sugar in it or whatnot, then you're ruining the whole point of doing the detox. So I'm someone who's like, once I have a clear foundation of what I can actually do, I stick to it 100%. So the hardest moment was definitely dealing with the migraine, because of course, and the sleeping problems, because, when you're doing this, your hormones are all over the shop, your body's all over the shop. And so you try to sleep, but you can't. You're up till 2 in the morning thinking and struggling with it and going, should I do this? Should I just go and take this? Should I just go and take that? And that's kind of it. But, it wasn't all difficult. Of course, like as you get through each day, it feels like like you're proud of yourself, right? So what surprised me the most wasn't like the first 3 days were harder than actually the 3 days where I didn't eat, mostly because of the headaches and the stuff that happens as you start to shift from your fuel source being glycogen, which is sugar, and moving over to the ketosis, which is the fat storage. So when that happens, like I said, there's the withdrawals, but then there's like some of the other effects as well. So that's usually the hardest point. But for the 3 days where I didn't eat, as much as there was the bargaining, that wasn't difficult in the sense of like I didn't feel like, oh my god, I can't get out of bed. I'm terrible. It was like it was mostly just the like I want this. And I remember just being on my phone on social media, and I would scroll and see desserts, and I just would watch all of the dessert menus and going, I can't wait to eat that. I can't wait to eat that. Oh, that looks amazing. So that was getting me through it as well at the same time. And of course, there was a lot of pride from completing something different. Now, of course, I've talked about what I did and the reasons why I did it, but I really wanted to kind of come on here and mostly talk about why I keep coming back to resets, because I've done quite a few over the years. Like, a few years ago, I did what they call the 75 hard challenge, where for 75 days you have to cut your diet right back to a specific thing that you agree upon. You have to do workout every day. You have to get out walking, and you have to do all these different things. You only drink water, things like that. So I did that and completed that. Then last year, when I was at a point where I was really looking for something to look at, so I could learn about food, but also have a big challenge, I did a 3-month program, which is called Wild Fit. And this is where I learn about what I do, with the detox weeks. And literally throughout the 3 months, you basically cut out, again, all of the sugar, all of the caffeine, all of the alcohol, all of the carbohydrates. Like literally you are strict on what you can eat, and you do this for 3 whole months, and it fully detoxes your body, cleanses you back. I literally went down to like 5% body fat. Like it was my like fat storage was going like this. Like as soon as I'd eat something fat, boom, it was going through me as well. And that was taught me a lot about stuff. And so that was a massive major reset. That was a really difficult 3-month period, right? Because it felt like it was never going to end. Then again, I was from that point on every month, or like I said, every month to 6 weeks, I would do another 7 days of that. And so I did that throughout the rest of the year. And then the beginning of the year in January, I did a full month of that again. And then since again, I've been doing the smaller monthly resets, 4 to 6 weeks, right, throughout this year. Now, oftentimes, like, when I'm at a point where I want to do a reset, it's again, when something's happening and I feel a bit off, maybe it's mentally, maybe I'm kind of like lost. Like, because throughout this year, like obviously so much has happened in the businesses and things have changed and shifted. And, with what I was doing with my coaching and my podcast, and I stopped it for a while. And so it wasn't just always like a physical reset, it was like a mental reset where like I had a week and I was like, I need to strip everything back and just be completely clear headed, in the sense of like cutting back anything that goes into my body that you may ultimately look, which is sugar or weed or alcohol or things like that. And just, like I said, have a clear body, mind, energy, and spirit. And also allow myself to have some structure and discipline. And usually I come with like, sometimes I'm like, okay, these are, I'm going to do like for one of them, I did a full wheel of life process where I looked at every area of my life, all 12 sections of the queer wellness wheel of life, and like asked all these questions and allow myself to figure out where I wanted to go next, because I was feeling a bit lost and stuff. That also, I did this just before I started this podcast again. I did a reset and allowed myself to have some like creativity coming through. It also allows me to interrupt some of those poor habits that actually have just become automatic that pull me off as well. And so why does removing these things actually make me feel more like myself? It's because I strip it all back. Like I said, I go through something. I feel like I have to push, be disciplined. Like I said, sometimes it's really difficult, but it also gets me to kind of sit with myself, even sit with the discomfort, and actually realize that, okay, like it allows me to feel more creative. Like, for example, this past one that I just finished, since Monday when I completed it, this week has been one of the most creative weeks I've had in a long time. I have a whole new beautiful venture that I'm working on alongside obviously creating this podcast and my coaching and obviously the other things. But I've got something that is just brewing there, and I've spent this whole week in like absolute creativity mode. And so that there is definitely a pattern here. I do the reset and then something shifts. Like I said, coming back last time, the podcast started and I got into the podcast. I started creating it, and now I'm doing this back every week and I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. So these resets happen mostly, like I said, because of the physical stuff, where I feel like I'm not treating my body like the temple that I want it to be. Maybe my spiritual side is feeling off, maybe a bit mentally not great, because like I said, I'm some of the poor habits that I want to have, keep at bay, go into a bit of a buzzle, you know what I'm talking about? Like they become all over the shop. Like I said, for me, like I said, I'm not someone who likes to drink a lot. I used to a lot, huge amount. And then I cut it out for like, again, even if I look back, 5 years ago, I cut out alcohol for well over a year. I like to do these kinds of things to get myself back on track. And in that year, my whole life changed around, right? Because I was in a discipline mode. So when I do stuff, I'm good at being into structure and discipline and routine. So again, like I said, when people come to visit and I get out of whack, a reset really helps with that. So then, like I said, for me, starting my coaching business, when I cut out all the alcohol for a year and just was like, I focus on this, I was able to start my coaching business, get clients, end up deciding that I was ready to leave my, massive corporate career, move to Bali, get in a relationship, all of the things that happen within that period. So there is a pattern here where the reset leads to a lot of creativity and a lot of shifts and a lot of changes. And I think also when I've had those resets, I noticed it, like I said, those shifts I've talked about. This reset is now about me getting into the world of music and all the ideas and all the excitement and all this momentum and this beautiful venture that I'm focusing on. Because again, I think when you have less consumption, that also is less distraction, which also means there's more space to create. And then from that, what becomes possible when you remove the noise is the creativity. And I'm a very creative person. Like I used to work in corporate, of course, and I was in customer service team, and I would run a big team of people. And there would be other teams that were like creative teams, and I often felt like, oh, I'm not a creative person, but the way I am creative in a lot of ways, especially in how I help people, is by being creative in how we help them solve problems, creative in how I find solutions to things. And so then when I got that, I realized that I was also creative in speaking to people. I was creative in writing. I was creative in understanding what some people are looking for and what could be the missing note that could help them on that part that maybe hadn't been thought of before. So I realized that creativity is a multitude of things, but also, like I said, when I can remove all of that consumption, the distraction, all of the noise, I have more space to be creative. And then, of course, from that, when I'm in that sense of like on a roll, I'm able to be disciplined and I get to push myself because I really do genuinely like challenging myself. I think it's something that not everyone really does so much for themselves in life. I think it's great to be able to prove to yourself that you can do difficult things because when you know that you can do that, especially when like, you know, I was thinking about this fasting, doing this for like maybe the last 3 or 4 months. And I looked into it, did a lot of research to make sure I did it the safe way and the right way and stuff. And so, when you get to it, you're like, can I actually do it? Can I actually do it? And so when you prove to yourself that you could do those things that you were unsure you were able to do, you realize you can do so much more as well. And because of that, like I said, I've been thinking about it for months and months and months. I kept a promise to myself. And in doing so, it built up the confidence within myself to say that I can do it. And now, because of that, I feel confident. I feel on a roll and I'm rolling with it, which is fantastic, which is why this venture that I'm working on is so exciting because it feels like it's starting to, like, it was just like this step. And like I said, this venture I'd be thinking of for like 6 months or more. And I hadn't gone anywhere with it. It was just in my head. But because I had the time and like the juices, it's now moving. And it's like instead of just taking one step, I've taken 20. And I'm like, wow, like how quickly can we get this going? It's really cool. And so, like I said, that discipline helps me to transform my life in many, many areas. But of course, sometimes discipline can be empowering and sometimes it can feel like control. And of course, like when you're doing it in the sense of like you're restricting yourself from all of these things, in those moments, for me, it certainly feels like, okay, like I'm controlling myself, but I also have a time limit on it. And that's okay because there's an empowering part. It's like, I also did choose this. So for me, instead of it feeling like a controlling thing throughout the experience, it's empowering to me because I chose it. And I know that I could choose something else at any moment. I'm not forced to do this reset here. I've told myself that I want to. I've given myself the opportunity and the tools and like I said, the discipline to do it. But ultimately, if I wanted to stop after 2 days of the fast, I could say, look, I'm done here. I feel I've done it. And I'd be perfectly okay to do that. And there'd be nothing wrong with that, right? But for me, I knew what I wanted to do. I was ready for it. I was prepared for it. And again, that discipline allowed me to feel empowered instead of feeling controlled by it. I think discipline can feel controlled when it's forced upon you or you're doing it out of reasons that don't make so much sense. For me, it's the reasons make sense. Of course, when it comes down to doing these actual resets, you know, I know that a lot of people in the LGBT community, especially gay men, do have what we call body image issues. And that could be meaning that you want to be lean, you want to be muscular, you want to be attractive, and you want to be healthy. And I know that I've fallen into that trap at certain periods of my life. And I know how I feel when my body changes, when I start to see some of the pudginess where it's not normally there, or maybe, like I said, after a night of having a few drinks, you get inflammation and you feel bloated, and you look at yourself and you feel a bit off, maybe it's a bit gross, a bit disgusting, which is sometimes how I felt. But I don't do the resets necessarily to focus solely on the body. Of course, that's true. And I know how quickly your body can shift. So like, I know that like, I don't need the reset for my body to return, but it is definitely, a great positive, um, result of it. Like for me this past week, obviously doing the restricting all of the sugar and all of the things, and then having 3 days of not eating, of course your body's going to feel a bit more snatched, right? And of course I understand that when I'm looking in the mirror, I'm seeing myself now than when I was a week ago. You feel accomplished, but also you feel better about yourself. But also I have to understand that like the reset isn't about the physical, but yes, there's that result from it. But I have to also understand the deeper reasoning of like, who am I comparing myself to? And like, am I looking in the mirror in this through the lens of the queer community, the LGBT community, the gay community, or am I looking through the lens of myself, seeing who I am? Because again, I think oftentimes when I see myself in the mirror, I try not to focus on anyone else, how they would see me. I look at it and go, am I happy with the person I'm seeing here? And is this representation here a true representation? Because again, I also know that if you've had some alcohol, personally me, and you look at yourself in the mirror, like you might be in a lower state of mind, and you might be seeing the things that you do. So I always like to make sure that when I'm going to be making the decisions about what I want to do, these resets, that I'm doing it from a clear-headed space. So I didn't make the decision to do it now solely because of how I was looking on the Monday, the day before. I knew that I wanted to do this reset for probably like the past month, but I had too many guests. It wasn't going to be happening. And so as soon as my sister left, I was ready to do it. So I made the decision already when to do it, like weeks prior. But again, I understand that the body image issues, I do suffer from them at times and struggle with them at times solely because of like conditioning. Gay queer culture has a lot of pressure around bodies, a lot of pressure around aging, a lot of pressure around comparing yourself to other people, especially in the world of social media. And sometimes you can be pushing for compliments from other people. Now, I'm not worried about that. Like, so I'm in a relationship. Of course, my relationship is also an open relationship. So I do, sometimes meet up with other people, but I'm not worried about like my body in relation to that. I want to, like that's not how I live my life. I guess sex, dating, social media, youth, masculinity, all that stuff. Like, look at me. I'm not like sometimes some people might look at me and think I'm masculine. Some people might look at me and think I'm feminine. I don't look at masculinity and feminine by how somebody looks. I think that is energetically how you are. And so many people, especially with, like I said, if you're looking on the realm of online and grinder and all those things, people like a mass for mass, and they focus on how it looks, not who the person is or how it is, because like that's only one part of it. And so for me, it doesn't affect it, but it's a part of it. And so how much of the body that I truly want is actually what I want. Now, for me, I enjoy my routines. Like I said, I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy doing HIIT classes. I enjoy going for nice walks. I've got dogs. I am active. I'm an active person. But 90% of it isn't just focusing on the body. It's actually focused on how I feel about it as well. But again, I'm on a journey of loving my body while also wanting to improve it and change it. I think that there's this thing of like, I just because, I am a coach, or just because I'm, in this realm of positivity and this, that I can't have areas of flaws or things that I want to change about myself. I can love my body and also want to improve it and be better at it and be healthier to it. Because again, when I look in the mirror and I see stuff and I see the bloatedness or whatnot, it's just usually a representation of how I haven't truly been taking care of myself, which is why these resets are great, and why looking at myself in the mirror at the end of the reset makes me feel proud, because it proves that what can change within 1 week. when you do something like this. And again, the reset I know isn't permanent. So I'm going to look at it myself in a few more days and be like, look, this is your body. And I'm happy with where we're at, right? Like I said, this past week when I've been able to reintroduce things again, the other night I had a couple of margaritas at home with my partner. He wanted to celebrate with me, so we had that. He bought me some donuts one night. Instead of having the whole pack, I just had one. A week ago, Cristiano would have had three. So I can say that there are growth areas here as well. By making choices as you come back means that you don't want to go back into those old patterns as well. They don't I don't have to be able to have the contradiction of loving my body while wanting to change it. I can love my body, have my physical goals, because what actually matters is really where the desire comes from. Is it coming from my health? Is it coming from my pride? Is it coming from a challenge? Is it coming from pleasure? Or is it coming from shame or fear or comparison or validation? And the truth is, there could be a bit of everything in there. I do want to have a healthy relationship with myself, a healthy relationship with my body. I am wanting to feel proud and work on being proud of myself and my body. I do love a challenge. I really love challenging myself and putting myself through these things to prove to myself that I can do it because it helps me move forward. Is it pleasurable to see myself through the version of myself that I truly see inside? Yes. And of course, is there some shame and around not wanting to get fat? Of course there is. Is there some fear around what will happen if I get fat and what that means for me? Of course. Is there me comparing myself to my partner and how he looks or other people around or people online? Yes, of course. And of course, I want to be validated in looking attractive. Yes, there's all of those things. And I can be truthful in saying that. The truth is, though, I am caring for my body, and sometimes I'm also punishing it in a way that I feel is positive. Because will say, like I said, if I get to a reset and because I'm not being taking care of myself, then I put all the shit into my body, and then I restrict it. So in some ways, I am truly caring for my body, but there's a punishment of it because it is going through this yo-yo sometimes. Because the hardest part isn't the week for me. The hardest part is coming back. Because being strict is actually easier than the moderation. When you have all of the choices, you know, it becomes difficult because during the reset, the rules are very clear. And I'm good when I have got the rules. I can follow it to a T. But like normal life brings those choices back. And sometimes one indulgence can lead into several, can lead to old habits creeping back in. And then the fuck it, I'll start again next week mentality comes and I'll just do a reset in a couple of weeks. That's not what I want. And so every time I do the reset, I learn a little bit more. And I think the key is, especially when I have things that disrupt my routine, is to really be prepared for that mentally, emotionally, physically, instead of just like walking in, oh shit, like this is happening again. Like prepare yourself so that maybe you can have as much routine and structure as you need, or you can have some boundaries around, look, I'm not going to be doing that while you're here. You can go ahead, but I'm not going to. Because of course, I don't want to have the fear of undoing all of the hard work of the reset, because you spend 7 days and some of it, like I said, is not good, not fun. And some days it feels really difficult, especially when you haven't slept for like 3 nights in a row properly. And then you've got to get up and then you have to do some stuff for your business stuff or whatever it is. And like you're buggered. And then you've got your partner who's moody at you because you kept him up as well. All that work shouldn't be in vain. That's the fear sometimes. And, you know, people might ask, why do people drift after feeling so good? And again, it's that sometimes coming back into reality, having the choices and lacking the structure. So I think the important key is like, for me, like I said, I'm good with structure. If I'm aware of what I'm eating, and one of the things that I do try to do a lot more often is actually, because I'm a person who likes to do a lot of journal noting. I speak into my phone. I do a lot of journaling, and I kind of talk myself through how the day's going to go sometimes. And so often when I talk about what I'm going to eat and have a plan for it, often that comes to fruition. So I find that when I don't do that, that's when the things, creep in as well. So instead of drifting after feeling so good, I have to be more prepared and more planned out. Still allow myself some of the the indulgences that I love, because let me tell you, I don't mind a good margarita or two every now and then. I don't mind a good biscuit or some lollies. Like I do love a good sweet tooth, like a tiramisu. Mwah, give me some of that. So that kind of stuff is allowing yourself to know when that's okay, instead of it happening and then you roll out of, off just the thing. Because I don't want to have to always feel like I need to have the extreme, even though I do enjoy the reset for the fact that it does do a cleansing and it is a detox. It does literally detox your body, which is what the things I love about it as well. But the truth is maybe I don't need more of the discipline or the extremities. I just need to learn to be more consistent and have more intention, and I can plan the indulgence instead of accidentally falling into it, because I want to have more variety and enjoyment in my everyday healthy living. But what are the ways that I can incorporate some more healthy options so that I feel like it to be indulgent, but actually it's not an unhealthy way of doing that as well. I really need to learn how to protect my routines, protect my energy, and my creative space, especially when people are here. Because like I said, I am an accommodating person. I love having guests. I do enjoy making sure that people are comfortable, especially when they come to stay with me, and I want to give myself to them. But I also need to be structured enough to say, this is a priority to me. This is my life. My life is a priority. And you coming into my life shouldn't be above my priority of my life as well. It should complement it as well. And we should be able to make that and fit it in. And again, being consistent and having intention and a plan around it really is going to help me protect that routine, the energy, and the creative space that I have. Because I want to be able to notice if I do start drifting earlier, instead of when it gets too late and I'm already kind of a little bit too far down the rabbit hole. I don't want to let other people's energy or lifestyle dictate mine. I want to choose, and I want also them to feel comfortable to choose that I'm okay for them to do what they want as well. Because I don't want it to have to clash. Because I really want to be able to build a life that I don't need to constantly have to reset from. Having a good plan of attack and being able to take that forward. So what do I want to be able to take forward from this week that I want to keep? And I think I've already started to see it. Is um, like I said, my partner came and bought me a box of donuts. And I also, while I was in my midst of having 3 days off, I ordered a box of cookies. And so what I want to be able to take forward is moderation and choice. So I had one donut, I had one cookie. I'm okay with that. And then you have them for a longer period of time. You don't have to eat three at a time and be like, oh, I get to indulge. I can have indulgence within moderation. So I want to be able to take that forward as well. And just like the choice, and that being my choice, not feeling like I'm restricting myself. What am I happy to let back in? Of course, a little bit of sugar never hurt nobody. Of course, that's not really the truthful saying, because I'm sure it can hurt you. But I don't mind having this and that. I don't want to be so rigid and strict that I feel like I'm completely limiting myself. I'm a Turian. I love comfort. I love indulgence. But again, moderation and the right time. So instead of like the longer I can lead off having sugar throughout the day, the better it's going to be. But if I start having sugar throughout the day, then I want to have it more and more. So if I'm going to have sugar, maybe what I need to do is like have it after dinner and only limit myself to a small amount as well. What doesn't deserve the space that it had before is probably just like when people are coming into my space, letting go of my normalcy, my life, my priorities. I need to be able to protect my peace, protect my space, protect my routines, and all of those things. Because what I want to do is I want to make sure that I've got a plan of attack to help my life feel clear, creative, healthy, and alive. And what makes me do that is my routines, is my relationship, is my lifestyle, is making the healthy choices, is doing the things that I have and having the structure around what I eat and being prepared with that. So like I said, I'm good. If I go to bed at a good time and get up at a good time, and I prepare myself and I have enough time in the morning to like walk through what I'm going to eat and how I'm going to be, how my day's going to look, I enjoy that. I like to be prepared for that. Of course, everything goes the way it goes. And of course, some things, the timing doesn't work out and maybe you miss doing this and that. But flexibility is also cool as well. I love the flexibility that we can have in that as well. Because sustainable balance, what does that look like for me? And it is being prepared and knowing that, like, okay, so this week, if I am going to only allow myself to have a couple of drinks, when's that going to be? If I'm only going to go out and have a cheap meal, like have a Mexican meal and maybe eat a little bit more than I would normally eat on a normal day and night, when's that going to be? Is that's not going to be 3 nights of the week. It's just going to be one, right? And it's because I want that to be the way, not because I feel like I have to do it that way. Because resets can still have a place, but they just shouldn't be the only way that I find myself again. There's so many ways to get back into the role and be creative and to feel like you've got a voice and to share it and to talk about the things that are important to you and to live that way as well. Now, maybe your reset isn't about becoming someone new. Maybe it's just about removing enough noise to remember who I am and then learning how not to lose that person again when normal life returns.